Welcome to the Endless Entrepreneurs YouTube channel. My name is Luke Henson. I am a eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari seller, as well as a real estate investor. I buy and hold long-term rental properties. I also work full-time in the corporate world, so I kind of juggle all three and document them on this channel. This video is going to be dedicated to talking about how to use a virtual assistant to help scale your reselling business. I'm going to focus primarily on eBay just because it's an easy example for my business, but it definitely can be pertainable to any other business that you might have. So we're going to jump into some real practical ways that you can use one to grow, things that you can apply today, things you can think about for tomorrow. But we're really going to dive into it. This is live, so I will answer questions at the end. So if you're rewatching this for a second time, hopefully the Q&A will add some value for you. This topic has been a question probably the last 2 weeks. I've been getting a lot of direct messages asking about how do I make this step? How do I make this plunge? What's the natural... Like basically all the ins and outs, right? For anything from what softwares do I use, what things should I outsource, all those sorts of things. So I plan to cover that in this. I'm going to just talk about my own personal experience and how that's worked for me and my business, how it's grown it. Trust me, I've made so many mistakes that hopefully I'll be able to add a lot of value. I also have a great virtual assistant who works for me, who's amazing. She's probably taught me just as much as vice versa and how this works. So we'll kind of draw on that experience and hopefully it'll benefit you guys watching. So people are filtering, and I'm going to jump right in. I want to just throw all the value in the front here, and then we can do the Q&A on the back half of this video. So I'm going to start real top level. If you're thinking about having, and I use the word virtual assistant loosely, right? It doesn't have to be a virtual assistant. It could be hiring just help in general. I say virtual assistant because the nature of the reselling business is it's all e-commerce. So it's not something you necessarily have to physically be sitting next to the person for them to do for you, right? It's something they can do from their house or wherever else. That comes that virtual connotation of like, it gives the flexibility for them to do it somewhere else on their time and play into your business model. That's where it really comes from. There are, obviously there's specific definitions for virtual assistants. There's lots of sites that outsource them, all those type of things. So in any case, I just want to kind of clarify that. So I think the real big thing first, before you can really go down this road, is you need to decide what is it that you actually need one for. In the beginning, when I first started to scale my business, and I say in the beginning, I pretty much solopreneured it, just me, myself, and I for many, many years, growing my business slowly, getting to the point where I had capital and choices to maybe start outsourcing some things. It took me a long time. When I decided to make that plunge, the first model I adopted, I don't do anymore, but I didn't really know what I was doing, so just experimenting. And that was, I found other resellers who wanted to make extra money, and I had them literally take inventory from me and from start to finish do the whole listing process, including photos, measurements, bagging, inventory, setting it, on this software called InkFrog. So I got to pilot that, and you can call that a virtual assistant, I guess, but it was much more of like a very interactive contractor relationship, dropping stuff off, having them complete tasks, a lot of physical inventory exchange, not as much of that virtual scalability from all, locations not near you, I guess you should say. And I really want to focus today on outsourcing to people not geographically close to you, because I think that's where the real leverage can be, especially when growing a reselling business. So what are the different things that you could decide to outsource? Let's kind of go through some examples here. I think one of the first obvious ones everyone goes to is listing, right? A lot of people don't like listing. They don't like writing titles. They don't like checking all the description boxes. They don't like optimizing the listing. For whatever reason, they don't like editing photo, whatever it is, right? That whole process isn't as enjoyable, right? So that's one of the first things that I think is natural to talk about outsourcing, and it's a very good one, right? It's a very good one that you could do. Another one could be if you want to sell on multiple platforms. Maybe you need help cross-posting items. Maybe you do the initial listing, but you want someone just to do the process of copy and pasting, pulling the photos over and add it to a second platform, labeling your inventory SKU so you know what it is. Maybe that's the natural step for you to start with. This is a small little baby step. Maybe you just want someone to share your items on Poshmark. Let's talk about Poshmark or even Mercari, or even eBay now. They have the send offers. Maybe you want someone just to be in there, making sure they're sharing things consistently, sending offers to likers, to offers to watchers, in there editing your pricing, or maybe, just maybe you have a specific model you want to file with updating keywords in your titles or whatever. Maybe that's the route you go, something small. These are all examples of ways that you could use a virtual assistant for and use that skill set that maybe you don't have time for. And I guess let's back up and talk about why you want a virtual assistant to help with your business. It's usually because you max out on your time, right? It's not that you're not skilled enough to do it. It's not that you're not willing to do it. It's that you've hit a point of capacity where I'm not going to grow if I don't have help. I'm doing as much as I can with the time of my day, and I've hit a plateau and my business isn't growing, right? That's the reason why you'd want to really start thinking about having that VA, is you want to buy time back, right? And someone has a skill set that's desirable that you want to pay, and it's worth it to you to pay them to execute that task that you get that time back, right? You're trading time for money. It's a value exchange. Hopefully you're finding a win-win situation with whoever's helping you. But yeah, those are just some examples. I think it's important setting the framework that you need to decide what it is that you want to actually start with, so you have an idea of what skill set you need. I think it's also important to contemplate what are the things in your business you don't like doing. I'm a big advocate of the first things that you should outsource when you have the capital and the ability to do it is outsource the things that you don't enjoy, right? That's going to reinvigorate you to be more excited about your business because you're spending more time doing the things you like. And when you're spending time on the things you like, you end up being more productive, you get more things done, and thus your business is going to grow, kind of insurmountably there. It's just going to grow at a much more rapid rate than if you were grinding out those tasks that you might not enjoy. So enough on that little ramble there, but hopefully that makes sense why it's really important to think very critically about what is it that I actually want to outsource. So then, kind of that second avenue here is, all right, so Luke, I figured out what I want. What do I do now, right? I figured out, let's just use listing, for example. I figured out that I hate writing titles, right? I want someone to write titles and set drafts of listings. Let's just go with that for now. So now, but Luke, how do I find someone who can help me? And this is a tricky question, and it's probably the one I get this even more than how do you use a VA, is how do you find a quality VA? I don't have a perfect answer. All I'm going to talk about is my experience. So one, I got very, very lucky that the person who's working with me now is working with me pretty much since I think May we started working together. She reached out to me. She proposed to me this model of what we are now, and has evolved and worked with me, and really been influential in my business growing, influential and kind of a thought leader in ways to adapt the process with her background and expertise. So I was lucky with that. Now, I will describe some of her traits, and I'll describe kind of what I would look for in that. And then I'm going to give some examples of places you can probably market to find similar skill sets. So one, she has a very strong writing background, right? She was a freelance writer, still is, does lots of journalism type things, is used to doing a lot of research and writing. So just has that natural knack for writing titles, researching based off of details. And then the other big kicker to it is she also was a reseller and is a reseller. So doesn't want to have this booming, massive scale of business, enjoys the writing aspect and the other things, but does resell on the side, has knowledge of all the platforms that I sell on, and actually knows them probably better than I do from the mechanical standpoint in the search algorithms. So she had that skill set, and it was just amazing, right? It's a perfect fit. So like if I could describe the ideal person, like I pretty much described them, like that's a home run for you, for your business. It's just great. So where do I look for that person, right? I think this is the other you start to get tripped up on. So the first thing I would think about, and I key in on, I said that she also was a reseller. Key in on people who have been resellers before. Maybe they don't want to be at a big scale. Maybe they like just doing weekend thrifting, but hey, I like the idea of having a steady $1,000 a month coming in from writing titles or writing listings. People out there want that, and that's okay. Like there are good value exchanges, win-win opportunities for people that are looking for that, and they already have the skill set that you don't have to retrain a whole lot, right? That they have that. Or maybe you go the other route. Maybe instead of looking for resellers, and the reason I brought resellers first is you have avenues like Instagram. Most of you are on Instagram, looking at the resellers, YouTube, all these different social media platforms. You put a post out there, say you're looking for help, you'd be surprised how many people will respond. Ooh, sorry about that, guys. But if you put that out there, and that's what I did, I just put stuff out there. I just put stuff. I was looking for this, and people were tagging and sharing and referring people to me. That's just what happens. You put it out there, people know people who are looking for that, and they will connect you. So I'd always say, start with that social media network within the reselling community. Start with other resellers who are knowledgeable. If you don't want to go that route, then think about the skill set you need. So like I said, maybe they want someone with a writing background. Maybe you're looking for a college kid who's a English or lit major or a journalism major, right? And they're looking for some extra money, and they can spend 15 hours a week, helping, and that's what they're looking for. Instead of, maybe they don't want to have to go work on campus at, whatever job they need to during a week, and they'd rather be able to do it from the dorm room and write listings and do that for you. Maybe that's a route you go, right? You post, your local Facebook marketplace describing you're looking for someone with a journalism background, or looking for someone who wants, has a writing background to do 15 hours worth of work. Or, maybe you incentivize. I've copied and pasted on Instagram a couple of times what I post for. I'm looking for photographers, right? Incentivize them on the piece rate. Maybe you're going to price structure like by listing. That's, it's attractive, especially like a college student who wants to just earn incremental money by the effort they put in. It can be very good. Or it depends the scale you're at. Like where I'm at, I have someone who's managing, basically 900 new listings. I think that's the math. Yeah, about 900 new listings or 1,000 new listings a month, plus handling all the cross posting on 3 platforms and handling the delisting, right? So it's a big scope of work, she's managing and managing very well. So just varies with what you're looking for. But so I would say internally, as far as finding VAs, I would start social media networks and that kind of the reseller community. Then I would go to more like targeted Facebook marketplaces or local community stuff with the background you're looking for. I pretty much shy away from Craigslist anymore. I just don't really use it for help and wanted it that much anymore. I find Facebook Marketplace to be much, much more effective. Sorry. And then the last option, and I list it last because I haven't really used it, but there are sites like, Fiverr is more of like a graphic design site. I think they've expanded in other markets. I haven't used them in a while, but there are sites dedicated to virtual assistants, right? You can write the job description, the specs, everything, and find other people who can do that. My only caution, not that they're not good avenues, but I've heard, heard from people there are VPN issues if they are not in the US or if they're in certain countries and they can't, if you're selling on multiple platforms, they might not be able to access and do some of the things on all the platforms that you want to because of the location in it. Not that there aren't workarounds and all that stuff, but just a fair warning, using those sites, you might get applicants that aren't just in the US, and their internet connection where they are might limit them into what they can do. So those would be really the 3 areas I would think of as, right, is, the reseller community, posting there, Facebook marketplaces, and then, the traditional sites that are for VAs for that type of scope of work, like Fiverr and such. So I'm just going to back up and kind of recap here. We talked about why you would want the virtual assistant, right? What are the tasks in your business you want to outsource? And then we talked about where you define them. So those are the first 2 pillars. Now I want to jump into the practical side of it. What does this look like in my business? And all I can do is show you what I do to give you an idea and talk through the mechanics and the workflow of it and hope that it helps you. There isn't like some magic map of like, go do this and it'll be perfect. Like that doesn't really exist, right? There's what works for you in your business and the way that you're growing and what you're selling and the platforms you're on. It all varies slightly, but these same principles should be transferable. And a lot of people have been asking me, hey, Luke, how do you use InkFrog? Hey, Luke, how does your VA handle this in InkFrog? Hey, how do they handle this on eBay, on Poshmark, and Mercari? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm actually going to show you in InkFrog what it looks like and kind of basically the couple routes you could go. And hopefully that'll be helpful. So 1 second here. We are good. All right. So this is a software. It's called InkFrog. You can see it in the left-hand corner here. I highly recommend it for a smaller business, and I consider myself small. You can see I've got almost 3,400 active listings here. That's made up of about 10,000 units. I actually have a lot of multi-quantity. There's basically the way the sites work out. I'm not going to do like a full tutorial on InkFrog. There's lots of videos out there on that, and I may do some small little button-up tutorials on specific tasks based on requests in the future here. But I want to do just kind of a basic workflow. You can assign through, I think it's through settings. Yeah, settings, and then you get staff accounts. So you can set up a staff account for your virtual assistant. And all you need is like their name, their email that's going to manage it. And then within that staff account, you actually, I'm not going to click there because I don't want to betray the privacy of anyone. But you can see within there are these basically limitations that you can set in the account. So security restrictions or capabilities so that you can limit what they actually can do within here. So a lot of people are like, oh, are you worried they're going to do this or do that? I mean, honestly, I'm not worried. I trust the person I work with very, very well. I mean, she's a fantastic person. And honestly, there's like, you'll start to get this comfort level, especially like cross-posting to Poshmark and Mercari. When you have two-factor authentication, right? There's only so much damage that anyone really could do if they wanted to be malicious before you catch it and stop it. So it's just kind of like what is your risk tolerance? But in any case, you can limit or open it up to as much as you want. So I've shifted to a model where my virtual assistant actually drafts the listings. So they create a brand new, title. She actually does all the item specifics within here, adds all the photos from a Dropbox, and she adds the price and sets it live. SKU, price, and cost of goods for me, and sets it live. And so that's basically, she does the start to finish listing for me on everything, which is enormous and amazing for me. Now, I'm going to give some suggestions on how you might want to do that, right? Maybe you want them with the software. Maybe you want them just to do the draft listing, right? Maybe you want them just to, hey, I want you to create the title, and you can limit the sections in the actual listing. Let me see if I can. Let me just click in here. So this is a live listing right now. Come on. But you can actually limit, so you could say, all right, they only can edit the title. Like you can limit edit the title, edit the description, edit the photos, and maybe you want them to edit the condition description and some of these things. And that's it. You can actually block out the pricing. So you have price and SKU in here. You could block that out and say, hey, I can't do that. You could block them from setting it live. You could block them. You can make them just so they only can save drafts. You can block it so they only can see certain categories of items. So there's kind of an unlimited amount of ways that you can limit or delimit things they can do. You can set up templates and profiles. So, I set up a way in the beginning. I set up profiles for each type of item that auto-populates, so they just kind of have a basic feel for what to start with. So there's lots of ways that you can really do that. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to talk through kind of more practically these workflows and the different ones you can do. Let me flip back to the chat here, make sure I'm missing anything. All right. Got it. All right, we are back here. So I'm going to talk through some practical workflow ways. I'm going to describe my workflow and then talk about the ways you could segment it. So what I do is I outsource photos. So I have someone who takes photographs of the items, takes all the measurements, notates the size, the inventory number, and the quantity on a whiteboard and takes a picture of it. Loads the photos of the item and that whiteboard picture to a Dropbox folder labeled with the inventory number. My VA has access to that Dropbox folder. When new photos are uploaded to a folder, it notifies them. They go pull those photos and draft what you just saw in InkFrog straight from those photos. It gets all the details they need. So it's got, the color in the photos. It's got the style, the brands are on the photos. It's got the material tag. And then they have the measurements, the size, all the things that need to go with that. And so from there, start to finish, can draft the title, descriptions, item specifics, set the cost of goods, the price, the inventory number, and then set it live. I can review that. I can edit any time, but really have some good trust in the pricing. It's actually been going really well with her pricing it on her own. So that's one way. That's a start to finish way. Now maybe just starting out, you want to outsource a little bit. Maybe you take the photos, you create a draft with just the photos, and maybe you put in the price and the inventory number and the cost of goods, and you leave the draft up and you have them go in and add all those specifics, the title, the description, the specifics, and set it live now that you have all the other stuff in there. Maybe you do the reverse. You do the Dropbox thing. They just draft the title, the descriptions, all that stuff. No price, no cost of goods. They can't set it live. They leave it in your library as a draft. You go in when you're ready, review, add the price, cost of goods, etc., and then you set it live, right? That's another option. And you can break that up down, little or a lot, however you're comfortable with in the beginning, whatever makes sense to you. That's the approach that I have taken to start to outsource and give up some of that control and allow me to scale. So hopefully that makes sense. I think that's from an InkFrog perspective, I think that handles that. And the two tools you really need to do that is InkFrog and Dropbox. There are some other softwares that similar to InkFrog that you could use. I haven't experimented with them, so I'm not going to recommend them. You're more than welcome to try them. I just only can speak to the things that I've used. But so far, I've enjoyed it. It's worked well for me. I think it's $29 a month for unlimited staff accounts. So like if I wanted to have multiple people, which I don't need, so actually I don't know why I pay $29 anymore, but neither here nor there. But $29 isn't that bad. And then Dropbox, the business Dropbox, I think there's like a base package. I think it's like $100 a month. And then I can add additional accounts for $25 each or something like that. It might be $50 a month and $25 each. I don't know. Either way, with 6 photographers plus her and actually another VA who's done some work for me. He adds up. I have like 8 or 9 Dropbox accounts. So you're running at a little monthly burn rate of like $250, but that gives me the infrastructure to outsource all those tasks in my business. Basically, that infrastructure, having InkFrog and Dropbox, gives me the infrastructure to outsource everything but sorting and shipping in my business. So pretty decent for monthly fees to incur to be able to outsource all those things. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to kind of pause now. I think that's the value I was really trying to bring, was deciding what you want to outsource, how you can find someone, and then really what are the softwares and tools and processes to think about that you can outsource. Hopefully that gave you some ideas. It shows you what the software looked like. I described my process. I also encourage you to check out Daily Refinement, Chris over there. He has a slightly different process. He has people work in-house for him. But needless to say, the technologies and the way he has it set up still can be utilized that same way. I think he has really great content, especially around this. We're really the same kind of mindset of that scaling and growing. I also made a post on Instagram. A VA who did a little bit of work for me before. She just launched her own site, just offering some VA services. So this is actually one where I actually can plug someone. If you are interested, just check out Instagram there. She also has a pretty unique idea for reseller boxes. So she sources several hundred items a week, used stuff, and she's actually listing each one of them individually on a site, and you can go in and pick the ones you want for a reseller box. So instead of getting like random reseller boxes, you actually can get customized one, which is kind of pretty cool. I haven't personally ever bought a reseller box, and she just launched it. But if you're interested, feel free to check out my Instagram post. She's a really nice person, very trustworthy. So, yeah. So I will take some Q&A now on the topic. I got about 10 minutes to devote to this, and then I got to wrap up. Hopefully this was helpful. If you're rewatching this later, would love to hear comments below on your thoughts, or if you do something different or ideas on how to be more efficient. I'm always all about that. Let me see here. Someone asked how Q4 is going. Q4 is going great. Actually, today has been a booming sales day. Mercari gets hotter and hotter every day for me. I'm approaching 30 days. I think like 22 days I've been on the platform. I think I've sold 4 things a day. It's crazy. And Chris from Daily Refinement told me, it's very front loaded. Like the views pretty much are non-existent for old inventory on there, which I'm starting to notice. But man, just putting fresh listings on there every day, it's just getting sales every day. So it's definitely worth it. So the Rescue Closet said, I didn't get any listings done in November. Hired a VA last week, published 60 new listings since. Yeah, it really, and I will say I find myself being very unproductive in getting blocked in productivity when I have a few tasks that I hate doing that are in the way of me moving on to other tasks. And that's a good way where a VA can alleviate some of that, especially if it's their expertise and something they enjoy, right? You're creating that win-win opportunity. The other thing I didn't really add to this is when you find someone who's really good, pay them. I think that pay them well. I think, I don't know. I feel like as resellers, we get so caught up in always getting the bargain, right? We got so used to garage selling and thrifting and always trying to find that bottom dollar, getting everything as cheap as I can. And it's when it comes to hiring help for your business, it's your business and you need it to go well, and you need that skill set and you need that person to care. Pay them well, pay them more than someone else who is paying them, right? Make sure you're asking them, is this their expectation? Make sure you're having that conversation. I could probably even be better than I am. I try to have the conversation as frequently as I can. It's you want to make sure that you're meeting their expectations, because to have to retrain someone, rehire someone, to go through that process, it really stunts your business, especially once you start getting at scale. So just that. So somebody just asked what the person's name I just mentioned was. So her name's Christina. Hold on. It's White Lights Resale. If you go to my Instagram, Endless Entrepreneurs, it literally is my last post I made. That's the best way to find it. And let's see. And so I said, how do you outsource your photos? Do you ship the items to your photographers, or are they local? Oh, great question. So photographers are local. Actually, most of them are actual, have photography businesses, and it's nice steady work for them in between their gigs. So I just drop off stuff usually to their studios, or they come meet me during my lunch break or whatever, and I just exchange the bins that I store my inventory in. And that way, I give them fresh stuff. They process it, they bag it, they tag it, they photo it, load the Dropbox, and then we meet once a week and we swap it, and I pay them. So Honda Hangout said, do you pay by the listing or a percent or a set monthly fee? How's that set? Great question again. So it's evolved. So I've always paid by listing. So I've always had some sort of by piece rate. For me, selfish, and I think it's also a good arrangement for the VA is they can really scope out and measure their work. Is it helps me calculate my by item margin. I know what I'm into an item for, because I know the cost of goods off the top of my head, and I know what it costs me to get it listed. Right now, end to end, to photograph, bag, tag, list, and delist when it sells, it costs me and that's list on 3 platforms. It costs me $4.75 per item. Now, where the economy of scale gets great is when it's a multi-quantity item, right? I had a lot of Under Armour stuff that came in where I had 15 or 20 per item, right? That's only $3 for that one listing, and there's 20 of them. So I get a lot of cost savings by item there. That's where multi-quantity gets more and more advantageous. But so I pay, I used to pay, I think it was, trying to remember how it's evolved. So I pay $1.25 per item that's photographed. And then if they're multi-quantity, we pay anywhere from 50 to 75 cents. I have to look at the invoice, what it is, per extra unit that they handle and bag and tag. So if it's 10 of them of the same item, they'll do one set of photos and then they'll bag and tag the other 9. They get 50 or 75 cents for each of the extra 9, and $1.25 for the initial one. And then I used to pay $1.25 for the Ink Frog listing, and then it was $1 for the cross posting to Poshmark. Now the new structure is it's $3, so basically $1 per platform for the listing. So when it initially goes up, and then it's 50 cents per item to delist it from all 3 platforms when it sells. Oh, that's a great question. So she said, what percent of your revenue is allocated for the VAs and helpers? That's a great question. So I'm running it right between a $28 to $30 average sale price, depending on the month. So let's see, quick math, 470. This is including photography, so I'll do both. So if you count just the VA, we'll do it on $30. So it's about 11.5% to the VA, and it's about 0.5% to the, wait, am I doing that right? No, 4% tied to the photographer. So all in all, we're looking at about 15.5% in that labor costs, so to speak, for the VA and the photographer. And so that's actually not that bad now that I put in a percentage when I think about that. Someone said, when looking for a new VA, where do you start and what qualifications do you look for? Do you do an actual interview or just by email? I would say best practice would be to write a job description of the skills that you need to have happen first before you go look. And then that way, when you post, you already are outlining what the requirements are, the skill set specifically. And then I would just ask, if you post in a Facebook Marketplace, the ways I always did it was I was just direct message me with your qualifications and why you would be a good fit. And that way I could screen them that way. Instead of me having to question them, they already are making the sales pitch to me. And then I can go from there with the conversation. I I didn't meet her in person, my VA now, until quite a few months in. But I actually did get to meet her in person. She was in Raleigh for a while. So that was nice getting to meet her. I don't think meeting in person is necessary at all. I think that's the whole perk of the virtual assistant piece, is that you don't have to. Someone said, I work full time as well and love the system you have implemented. Good. Well, I'm glad. It's definitely not for everyone either, guys. Like, I mean, most people I don't think will have, they might not want to scale to the size that I want to scale to. I like systems and process more than the thrill of the hunt. So like I mean, I buy in bulk now. Like I don't even go to a thrift store. I buy in bulk. Inventory comes to my driveway, and then it gets put into the system. I spend all my time, processing the inventory and the pallets, doing all the shipping and fulfillment, managing the people who are, handling the inventory, that type of stuff. Oh, someone said Upwork. That's the other one. Yeah, Upwork for VAs. Let's see. Someone said, do you recommend a photo setup for eBay? Thanks. So I would say just starting out as a reseller on eBay, or if you're just starting out, if you have a very limited budget, I would say use natural light in your phone. No reason to invest capital in anything. I would say as soon as you have a little extra capital, buy one of those $50 umbrella light stand setups. I think that will carry you through for 98% of your photo needs. I mean, it'll set you apart from most sellers just doing that and like a cheap $10 vinyl backdrop or white seamless paper backdrop or, photo type cube, thing like that. Those two things would be more than enough. I think I've linked in my description the umbrella lights I use. They're actually they're lighting me right now in the video. But I use those. They're easy to store, easy to break down. All right, I think I hit all the questions I see here. I'll take a couple more if you have any. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap up and hope that this was valuable. Like I said, people have kind of been after me to put out this video, so I'm sorry it wasn't as detailed or step-by-step through the software as it probably could have. But I also wanted to keep it high level enough that it had value. I think the end-to-end top flow and thinking about the practicality of it is more important. I think anyone has the time to go and look up the specific, like I click here, click here, click here, click here type thing. If you get stuck on like business policies or things like that when you're trying to set stuff up in InkFrog, feel free to direct message me on Instagram. I'll try to help the best that I can. But yeah, there are tutorial videos out there for almost anything you want when it comes to like the technical side. Here's another great question. What are some key points that you put in your job description other than the basics, like self-motivating or efficient, more resale related? Yeah, so I actually say in my job description, I kind of like, so working in the corporate world, I hate like the fluff BS, like self-starter, this, that. Like I just kind of cut through that. I literally am like, I'm looking for a, like I'll talk about like photography, looking for, or I'll usually say like work from home opportunity. I usually lead with that work from home opportunity, right? Because right away you're keying in on a niche of people who want to work from home. So you're already creating a win relationship there. That's what they're looking for. And then I say, by piece rate, pay. You determine, how much money you make, something along those lines, like nicer wording than that, right? And then put, seeking photographer or seeking virtual assistant to draft listings for e-commerce business. Desired qualities would be journalism, writing, those type of skills that go with that. Have to have ability to research, live internet connection, or high-speed internet connection. Things like that. Like include those very specific things up front, so you just screen out tons of people you don't need to waste time with, right? Give those specific requirements that you want them to have. Hopefully that helped. I know it's kind of like a long-winded answer to that question. Not as concise as I probably could have gave it, but I just get really specific about the actual tactical things I need them to have. And I, in the front, put something like desirable, like the rate, the work from home, whatever. And I'm transparent right up front. And then I put like must have these skills. And then I say at the end, if interested and you have these skills, please DM me your experiences on why you'd be a good fit for the role. Because I'm way more curious about how someone's going to present why they're a good fit for the role than I am anything else, because that tells me right away, like, are they a good writer? Are they articulate? Did they research what possible e-commerce business I could be referring to? Things like that, right? Like set them up almost as like their response to you is almost like a trial interview, right? To see if it's someone you want drafting listings for you. Someone said, have you ever experienced lag issues with InkFrog? Yeah, actually, my VA complains all the time about InkFrog. So I do have to say, full transparency. I would say at least once every 2 weeks, you have some type of latency issue where like it just takes like forever to upload a photo or stuff like that. Pretty much what happens is they have live chat support with InkFrog, which is one thing I do kind of like about them. Is I'll chat, they'll reply, they'll be like, "We're aware of it, we're on it," and usually within an hour or two, it's fixed. But that is kind of a pain in the ass. It is web-based, which is why I love it. It's web-based. It's not, so you don't have to download any software. But with that, apparently they need to upgrade their servers or something. But I haven't had any like data loss issues or listing loss issues or anything like that. I've had some people message me and be like, "Hey, but I heard that InkFrog listings get hidden on eBay and get poor treatment in the search algorithms." I'm like, well, I sell them quite a bit, so I must be not limiting too many of them. Maybe I could be selling even more if I wasn't, but I don't think I could be scaling like I am without it. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up. I need to get downstairs. I have to finish shipping tonight still. I really appreciate everyone tuning in. I hope this addressed some of the questions you guys have been direct messaging me about. I'm really trying, when you guys message me video ideas, I'm trying to get them back out to you guys within a week or so just to answer your questions more directly via here. I do, like I said, I have some tutorial videos on tap that I've been trying to work on. I'm actually waiting for a piece of video equipment to help like stabilize and help me do more of non-live videos. I know people have been asking for some security tag removal how-tos. I've got some, I'll come out with some InkFrog ones, things like that, but I just want to have the right equipment so that it's a higher quality video for you. Have an awesome night, guys. Really appreciate the support. Drop comments in with what you do in your business if you outsource, tips and tricks you have for anyone else who watch. If you disagree, please put it in the comments. I love to read that too. And like the video on the way out because YouTube likes that stuff in their algorithm. So much appreciated, guys. Always can hit me up on Instagram at Endless Entrepreneurs if you have questions. Have a great night, everyone.